The Lost City of Z, 2016 film directed by James Gray, starring Charlie Hunnam, Robert Pattinson, and Tom Holland. It tells the true story of a British explorer named Percy Fawcett, who in the early 20th century conducted several expeditions to the Amazon jungle, initially to map the terrain as a lot of those areas were previously uncharted, but then after hearing legends of the El Dorado, trying to find the real ancient city that he believed existed, a city that he dubbed Zed. It's a kind of a historical epic mixed with a character study showing us decades of Fawcett's life. We see him on multiple trips to South America, we see him back at home in between those trips, and get to observe his relationship with his own family as well as the Royal Geographic Society. And there's also an interlude during the First World War, which Fawcett took part in. He was fighting in the trenches. Now, based on this description, you may perhaps expect an adventure film, tonally close to Indiana Jones, or you may go the other way and think that this is a deep, dark journey into the human soul a la Apocalypse Now. The truth is that while it takes elements of both, it is actually neither. In terms of tone and scope, I would say it's closest to the epics directed by David Lean, like Lawrence of Arabia, which is extremely high praise, by the way. We do get to see the struggles of the journey, the period accurate clothes and vehicles and weapons and politics, the natural environments, but we also get to be in Fawcett's shoes to experience his spiritual journey as much as the physical one. The film tries to explore what drives people like him, what motivates explorers and adventurers, what they are chasing, what they are amazed by in all those wild places, why they choose to leave their families for years at a time in order to chase some phantom dream that may never come true. And I think that balance works really, really well. There's never too much of one side, and the movie gives proper screen time to both aspects of those journeys. And speaking of screen, I have to mention that one of the reasons that the movie invokes Lawrence of Arabia is that it looks absolutely fantastic. The rivers and jungles and bushes and native villages all look real. You feel like you're there. And then I looked up the movie's production after watching it, the details of how it was made. And it turns out that the reason it looks so real is very simple. Well, because it is real. Because most of the film was shot on location in the Amazon jungle on 35mm film, not on digital cameras. And that gives it this proper authentic look that we very rarely see in films nowadays. Also, having the people actually spend time in the jungle also makes the performances more raw and more authentic and believable. Especially Hunnam and Pattinson are excellent in this film. Of course, that also meant problems for the production. It was very difficult. Apparently, before even beginning to direct the film, James Gray wrote to Francis Ford Coppola, who directed Apocalypse Now, and he asked him for advice on how to film in the jungle. And Coppola answered with a simple message: don't go. And I've read that the crew and the cast had to deal with excruciating heat and exhaustion. There were bugs everywhere, there were dangerous animals around, and the humidity and the heat meant that a lot of the computers and other electronic equipment simply went out at one point or another, which again made the decision to shoot on film so much better. I think that it's a very patient movie. It runs for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and the weird thing is that it's not fast moving, but it also isn't boring. I guess I would compare it to reading a good book. You don't rush it. You know that it has to take time to read it, and it has to take your engagement, but that's kind of the point. You enjoy the time spent. And it's the same here. You enjoy the internal exploration of the character of Fawcett, and you enjoy the external exploration of the Amazon jungle. I appreciate the film because it's not particularly something that Hollywood likes to do nowadays. It's unique in that way. It's relatively simple in its structure, but deep, yet at the same time it is not bombastic and easy to digest. Not everybody will enjoy it as much as I did. But if you do give yourself a chance to enjoy it, I think you will, because there's a lot to appreciate about it.